Great. Hey, Rock, how you doing?
Hello. Good. Good.
How are you
The
feeling today? Are you feeling? Have you? I was feeling a sense, and I was asking everybody to put down in the comments how they're feeling. I was feeling like a sense of grief that's nothing attached to anything in my life, like it was trying to go, and I was feeling that old emotion, and so I'm assuming it's, and with the astrology today, it's about thoughts and feelings coming together, getting rid of old patterns like an old emotion. You feeling it?
definite well, yeah, I mean that's the whole thing and then the new moon and the start of winter. Uh Definitely a little bit of letting go and also just like I haven't been motivated. So finding the motivation is been difficult.
Hmm.
Uh Actually, let me rephrase that. I haven't been motivated to what I normally am motivated for. So
Right.
it's weird. It's like I can do certain things that I normally don't think is a priority, but the things that I used to think is a priority, it's really difficult for me to get into the groove and into the flow with that.
That makes a lot of sense because we are completely rewiring who we are as people and what our old story is. So our old story is completely gone. So I feel like it's kind of like feels like a bit of grief from my old story.
Hmm.
Yeah. As a matter of
Well,
fact, I was thinking about my daughter, and I was thinking about her, and I was feeling I was feeling a moment of letting her down in the past. And she's got her wedding social coming up this weekend in Winnipeg, Manitoba. And I was getting some stuff ready for her, and I don't know why, but this came up as a very distinct feeling. And in my past, like if I look at it, I have a reason to feel that way, but I've gone past that feeling. So for it to come up again, it was like the thought allowed the feeling to come up, I believe.
I suppose these things just keep recycling with all aspects of our life, right? For me, it's been imposter syndrome is coming up, which I normally haven't felt in the last few years. So it's kind of mirroring what you said. I've been just not feeling like an imposter with anything for the last 4 or 5 years, but in the last few weeks, it's been coming up and it's been starting in the head, like you said, and then just getting into like, man, do I really feel this way? Is this the reason why I'm not wanting to move forward in these directions? So that's coming up for me. But it is the start of winter, right? So we are going into more and more light every single day.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what all of these holidays are about. I mean, it's not even, Christians celebrate Christmas, but if you look at all of the holidays, it's all about a celebration of light overtaking
Right.
darkness during this time of year.
Yeah, I was talking to Chris yesterday. We did Astro Monday yesterday on Tuesday, and basically said it's by today. It kind of feels like things come together, and that's why I would imagine the emotions coming out. And he says Thursday, Friday, you're gonna feel kind of like everything's good. It's like New Year's, like you're gonna feel all this New Year's stuff coming into it. And he says by Monday, everybody's gonna feel like they know what to do. They're marching that direction. But some people who haven't been working on themselves are gonna feel like they're marching on that direction, but they're carrying a few extra bags with them.
That's exactly how I feel. Because I was like, like I kind of feel like I'm still in the, like still gaining momentum out of the low
Yeah.
that the winter solstice brings out because it's dark, at 3, 4, or 5 o'clock, depending on where you are, and then in the northern hemisphere. Right, it's still dark right now where you are, and it
Yeah,
doesn't.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's hard to get up in the morning because it's dark. If you're used to waking up with the sunrise, and I was like, all right, it's time to go. It's time to. It's getting more and more light. Why am I not feeling a that revving of the engine? But it feels like it's taken a little bit more time than just happening on December 22nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th.
Let's see what happens tomorrow. I mean, I have a feeling like after talking to Chris yesterday, I have a feeling that after today ends, that feeling is going to change. So I'm really curious because I got a pin in it now. Like there's no reason for me to feel like you said, there's no reason for me to feel this way. And I don't necessarily feel it's the Christmas or even the darkness, because I felt great yesterday. I think it's just the final bit of emotions coming out.
Hmm. Yeah.
So so what do you do? That's a good point. So when you feel like that, because everybody feels like that at some point. So when you feel like that, what's your go-to? How do you work your way through that?
I mean, like everything, I usually like go to a window, and because it's hard to feel like this being outside, you know. So I'm usually, when I'm feeling this, I'm like inside, and I go to a window and I look outside and I see if the sun's out, and if it is, I go out in the sun, and if it isn't, I'm trying to calculate. Okay, it's cloudy now. What, you know, maybe I can do some work for 2 hours, and then it's going to not be cloudy in 2 hours. It's like always about the sun for me,
Right.
like always. And like I said, walking through nature or being outside, it's very difficult to be in your head like that when you're walking at the beach or in the forest, because the trees, the ground, the air, they don't know your problems.
I got an idea. I'm just gonna walk outside.
Yeah.
Wow.
It smells different out there too, right?
Yeah. I mean, cheapers. It is so beautiful out here. And it's been exactly the weather to be out there.
Losing internet.
But for those of you guys who want to know what this looks
That
like. Is
looks
it better now?
amazing. Yeah, right now it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Should have done my
that spot right there, yeah, that spot doesn't know civilization.
yeah. Actually I feel really good.
So want me to get the tripod?
Yeah,
Stay out here?
yeah, grab it for a minute. I'll stay out here. I mean, it's cold as a truck, but yeah. But I think I'm gonna stay out here for a bit. I mean, this really, I feel good out here. Look at this. And for those of you guys who want to know what Lions Bay looks like,
I mean, all those plants are releasing so much. I mean, they're definitely releasing oxygen, taking the
yeah.
carbon dioxide out of the air, breaking it.
So this is one of my favorite spots here, because right down here is an area, a seating area, and the sun sets right over there every day.
This is a major part of planning out your life, is making sure that you do have easy access to stuff like this, whether it's a yard or a park. You know, if you do need to live in an apartment, or you do get to live in an apartment, then, you know, are you located close to a park? Is it easy for you to get access to the sunrise or the sunset? Where is the sun shining during the day? Do you have a tree? Like, is there a tree around? Where's the trail at? All of this is important when looking for housing,
Yeah, so
because
you just moved. So tell me about that place you just moved to and why you moved there.
we moved to Ventura. It's about an hour north of the city of LA, but we can get to LA-ish areas in like 25 minutes. So
Hmm.
it's sort of like you with Lions Bay in location to Vancouver. It's a little outside the city. It's a smaller city, more family oriented. My wife and I were in LA for like 18 years, and LA is an amazing place if you're hustling and grinding and growing and connecting. And we just feel we're a little bit beyond that stage. Even though we do all of those things, we can be outside of the city. We can be closer to nature. We can also have an ocean view. It's just more accessible here in Ventura. Also, LA's just, it's, the energy is a little bit, it's a little bit too much for us. I guess maybe we didn't notice it when we were younger, or maybe it's shifted. I don't know. But we tried everything in LA. We were in Laguna Beach. We were in Brentwood. We were, you know, living in amazing places. So we're kind of like in between. We even left LA and went to Mount Shasta for a little bit, but that was too secluded. So this is kind of like, it seems like the best of all of the places that we had.
Well, I mean, I love, I can see the beach out there.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got the sunset happening right there too. There's islands out there. There's mountains. You can kind of see a mountain in the background. It's not a dark cloud.
Don't you have sunrise and sunset? You can see both places.
Yeah. Well, I have, if I just walk to the other side of my house, there's a little like balcony area, and that's the sunrise. I'm thinking about putting an ice bath right there, and then sunset's happening right here. South facing is also, I mean, we've got a lot of access. We've got a big yard as well, but the south is where the sun goes all day long if you're in the northern hemisphere. So having a backyard or an area outside where it's south facing is really important in order to get to the light. The people that have the least amount of sunlight on this planet, like they have the highest amounts of suicide.
Listen,
So you go to like
I grew up in Fort McMurray, Alberta. For you Americans, that's the most northern city in Canada. There's northern towns. It's the most northern city. And it's where all the oil in Canada comes from. It's got more oil than Saudi Arabia, which people don't know. And it's got like now 350 billion barrels on reserve. And it's all the tar sands. So it would get at this time of year, it's dark at 3 o'clock, starting to go at 2:30, and the sun would be up around 10:30 in the morning. And when I was a kid, I just grew up, and that was just the way it was. Then when I came to Vancouver, I didn't even realize, because I wasn't aware. I didn't even realize that the sun was staying up later. Like here in Vancouver at night and the summertime, the sun it's like 10:30 at night, and we still have light. Like it's 11 o'clock, and you're like, now it's getting dark, and it's up at 4 a.m. So it's really beautiful in the summer, and in the wintertime it's beautiful. It's cozy, but I definitely am a light guy.
You brought up oil. This is like, oil is essentially stored sunlight, and oil and coal allowed human beings to expand. Coal, it was first coal, which is
Right.
like trees that were stacked up.
So are you going to the oils not from dinosaur remains? Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's not.
so the yeah, we want to talk about like the weird stuff, but enlighten me on the alternative perspective of where oil is coming from.
Well, first of all, oil is abundant, not rare. And we've been taught that it's rare, and it's been controlled by a number of people. Even if you have oil, you have to sell it, and selling it constricts it. So there's not a lot of exploration unless you already have a place to sell it, and it's everywhere. So oil, I personally believe oil was from plant matter, and we've had different versions of the planet Earth. I mean, right here we have the islands, and we have a San Juan Island here. This is a temporal rainforest, and they show artifacts coming from Central America up here, and they say that when the Earth flipped, and the peaks like Everest, they have seashells on the top, and they found evidence of mountain from in the bottom of the Mariana Trench. So at some point it went like this,
And
and when
palm
that happened,
trees in
yeah,
Antarctica.
all the plants got folded in, and they created a matter or a substance called oil. That's what I believe.
Yeah. So, but that's in alignment with what I was
Okay.
saying, because that in the plants are the light, right?
Yeah.
So the light is what the plants are storing, along with carbon from the air, from carbon dioxide, and hydrogen and oxygen from H2O, from water. But plants are basically made up of cellulose,
Yeah.
which is carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and a lot of light is facilitating all of that through photosynthesis. So all the plants are holding the light, and when they turn to coal and oil over degrading and then basically being stored under pressure, when we extract it, we're basically using stored sunlight. And so if you think about what makes us human, what makes us be able to operate, it's always about the light. So the light was facilitating plant matter, facilitating food. So whether it's we're eating plants or we're eating the animals that ate the plants, it's all about capturing the sunlight. And what coal and oil did was allow us to tap into the
Right.
reserves, like the Earth's reserves of sunlight. But so that's like the traditional standpoint of what oil and coal is in it, and it's limited, right? And that's like OPEC and all that. They determine the price and the story that goes out into the media, how much is left, and the global warming story. But I've heard or seen some things like if you think about the earth as being living, that there's the minerals like the metals in the earth, there's the waters in the earth, and there's things like oil, the fluid in not really fluid, but the energy, it's fluid like of the earth, and that all is just like the blood and the lymph
Yeah.
and the nerves of
That's
us.
so. That's actually so. You know my background. I'm a cryptologist. I'm a puzzle guy. So when I was trying to think of fascia in a new way, I needed a cipher. I needed a way to look at it because the information we have is too confusing. The puzzle's too big. There's too many inputs. So I said, okay, if our cell is like it is in the universe, and there's more space in our cell, and we have so if then we're just a fractal of that. So we have to be somewhere between the cell and the universe. We have to be the same.
Right.
So then I started looking for the similarities, and I go to planet Earth. Like a leaf of a tree is like our brain. The placenta of a baby from the baby is like a tree. You've got all these things. You've got walnuts are like brains. You've got all these different things that look the same. So here's the analogy that I drew because I was trying to think of it. Okay, the Earth has a torus, a field that goes like this. And so that's an energetic field that protects the Earth to some degree, but it doesn't stop, let's say, an asteroid from hitting us. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we have? We have a field around us, an aura, a torus.
Right.
So I said that's the same thing. Okay, but now we have an atmosphere. The atmosphere is different densities in air, and technically we're water, so we're air. We're the same thing, 7% water. The Earth is 70% water. So we have the same density. So the aura comes down into here, and there's different densities from here all the way down. So our skin is like the atmosphere.
Our skin is like the atmosphere.
Skin and fascia, different densities. As you go down, it gets thicker and thicker and thicker. So it gets stronger and harder. Like the fascia is way stronger than the skin because the fascia has a tensile breakpoint of 50,000 pounds, like steel. So like to tear it. That's why a quad goes bang it's not the muscle that does it, it's the fascia. So if that was the case, then the muscles are like the dirt. The rocks are like the bones. The oceans are like our organs. There's a limited number of oceans and seas in the world. And all the lakes are like our lymph nodes. Yeah, exactly. Lakes are like our lymph nodes. And then the trees are our lungs. And then so that allowed me. So then what I did is I said, so how does the dirt react with the rock, and how does the trees react with the earth, and what does it do? And I was making those comparisons because that I had science on. I could go look at and say, well, how would that be like the body? That was how I built my new theory of fascia and the body.
That's crazy because like you said, you can keep on looking into it because there are even there's things that tie all those together too, like the bacteria,
Yeah.
or the bacteria that travel amongst everything in the earth, and same thing with us.
Yeah.
And
yeah. We have, and here's some other things. Is that every single virus on the planet Earth is already embedded in your DNA. So if we do a PCR test and we spin it up to like 80 or 100 cycles, you'll have Ebola, swine flu, you'll have AIDS, you'll have every single virus that's ever been on the planet Earth, because we're made as a commensurate of this Earth. We're made from the Earth. We're not made from space. We're not projected here. We're not catching things. We're made. Nature. Yeah, we're made of the Earth. We're not separate of it. So, and that's a scientifically true statement. So then why would I put, like, when we want to develop an immunity against something, we expose ourselves to it. So why would
Hmm.
I expose myself to something to develop an immunity if I already have it in me? Then that takes away the whole germ theory of how can I catch something if I already have it? This is
Right.
the whole thing. And we know that in microbiology, like right now, the latest one is to help people that have disease processes serious that can't fix it. They're doing fecal transplants.
Hmm.
What is a fecal transplant? It's literally taking somebody else's crap and putting it up your butt. Like that's it. Now I think they charge like 20 grand for that. And I'm like,
Potentially unvaccinated, untampered with
yeah,
people where they
but
have their full microbiome. Sorry, go
right,
ahead.
but 20 grand, man. It's like I think they're now doing it for like 10 or $1,000, but that's a medical procedure. It's first of all, it doesn't take 20 grand to do that.
I don't know if he wants this public, but there's a common person that we both know that you have recently started having on lives, but ask him about that
Well,
because
actually, I'm gonna have him in Mexico on the 2nd for a
cool.
week. Yes.
Because he's got interesting. Just ask him about that specific topic.
Okay, I will.
He might not
So,
want it to be public knowledge, but yeah.
well, it is now. So, I know. I listen. He may not give a shit, but I do. Um. So we so the to be healthy, we're trying to protect ourselves from people, but to be healthy, the truth is, if I walk in a room of people and lick everybody, lick them, I will be way healthier than if I try to hide myself and wash myself, because I get all of their bacteria, which some of it I'm not exposed to. Like when you came down to Mayakan, the first thing that we gave everybody was a drop of local honey, a spoon of local honey, because that has all the information in the local environment, so your body can adapt right away. It doesn't have to go through the hard steps of adapting.
That's a good thing to do when traveling anywhere. The
Yes.
and so that's what babies do, right? They're putting stuff in their mouth
Yeah.
constantly. And that's what their body's instincts are doing. It's learning the environment. And the thing about bacteria is that if bacteria interacts with another bacteria, instantaneously they transmit all the information that they like almost become one. It's like they were two separate units, and then once they interact with each other, they get all of the information that the other one has had. Bacteria has been battling against viruses like forever. So we want a lot of bacteria in our body. We want them all to be healthy, and we want the bacteria in our environment,
Or
especially on,
cooperating.
huh?
Or
Yes,
cooperating.
yeah, yeah,
Even
yes.
like the other one is people. I don't want parasites in me. I'm like, you can't live without parasites. It's
Parasites
part
are
of
a
the
sign
cycle.
of a healthy
Yeah,
environment.
absolutely. And so so we have all this belief about everything that comes from inside of us is dirty and it's bad, but it's actually completely the opposite. Like not even close to being true. That is completely false.
Yeah. I mean, just look at animals. My dog, when I walk him, he's going around and he's inhaling all of the other dogs, like he and all of the other scents, and even licking. He's licking so much stuff. I'm like, what, Solar? What are you doing? You're like, what are you licking? But he obviously knows what he's doing. But it's a little, weird for my human programmed mind to see him licking the garbage can. Um,
You know, so that this is a fundamental point of what we're teaching. Um, we're easing people into a thought or a discussion, and that thought of discussion is, what if the things that you were taught that were wrong for you are right for you? And what we've noticed is that it takes people a little while to get their head around it. Like um like when you talk about we talk about urine therapy. I mean, that's a good 15,000 people that said goodbye just over a topic. And I'm like, whoa, that shows you where society is when somebody says over one thing. Like I had somebody say, fascial maneuvers have changed my life. I feel so much better. I've shared them with everybody. But now you're talking about urine, I'm gone. And I'm like, first of all, where does that make sense? And and we've lost the willingness to explore beyond the boundaries of what we've been told is okay as a
Acceptable.
society.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, uh, the comment section is always interesting, right? Because you have the people that just say this is bullshit, and there was never a time in their life where they didn't recognize that they could be adding to a conversation, adding their perspective. So if it's bullshit, then what isn't bullshit, right? Like bring a comment, bring a conversation to it so that there can be some dialogue. But the overwhelming people just negate it without saying their opinion or anything. And then there's the people that do bring their opinions, and that's appreciated because you get a little bit of their perspective, even if it's different. But that's what social media is that we share perspective, and then there's comments for everybody else to share their perspectives. But just coming on and hating and trying to take away from everybody else without offering anything is sort of like showing up to a party without bringing anything and just taking everything and then talking shit about the host as you're walking out the door. It's like what are you doing?
Yeah, well, it was the couple that got me were like, it's changed my life, and I'm a better person now. You're talking about this, so I'm gonna go away. It's like just you think about that. It saved me, and I'm gonna now die because I don't like what you talked about.
It's an inability to hold more than one perspective in your consciousness at the same time, and it's cueing them or triggering them to run the other way, and that's their defense mechanism when things get tough mentally for them. Well,
So here's a talking about cueing and triggering. You just got something on me. So a lot of talk about narcissists lately.
oh yeah,
Yeah. What do you say when someone
about you
says,
being a narcissist?
"Oh, oh, I am a narcissist"? Come on. I mean, we human beings are narcissists. That's
Yeah,
actually the damn truth of it.
right.
That's the whole human. That's the human condition.
I mean, we
But
should notice our beauty, right? That's the
yeah,
narcissist flower. So what was your
yes.
question? But I
So what do you say when someone comes up to you and says that person is a narcissist? I was married to a narcissist. I'm narcissist, 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 and
It's
that's
like you said, it is the new sexy hot thing to call people, and there's whole entire Instagram accounts like how to know that you're dating a narcissist, and there's all these memes, and it fits into a nice little box for people to say, "Oh yeah, me too." And it's comforting for a lot of people to label somebody else as a narcissist. But I mean, I studied psychology in university, and one of the long, and they make you do these 10-page research papers, which back then was a 10 pages was a huge deal. But one of them I did on narcissism because I was wondering like if I was a narcissist, and like you said, like the narcissistic personality disorder is what it's called, right? So my paper
you're
was
you're awesome. It's like I wondered if I was a narcissist, so I did a research paper on it on
yeah,
myself. Okay,
and
go on from that.
it's all about like somebody loves themselves is essentially the root of it, and it's when they start like using that love for themselves to manipulate others to get more for themselves. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't love yourself, that you shouldn't be narcissistic. It just means that you shouldn't be an asshole, and you should learn to be kind and respect others at the same level that you respect yourself. However, with that said, a lot of us go through different processes. Some of us have to process loving ourselves before we know how to have that same sort of camaraderie and collaboration with somebody else. And some of us need to learn through loving other people, and then through that love we can then learn how to love ourselves. And the thing is that people are going through this at different phases of their life, and they do match up. And they say like, oh, the person that's loving themselves more is the narcissist and is using this other person that's loving them as well. But the thing is, they need each other, and you seeked each other out, and you were attracted for a reason. And to then just blame somebody else for your problems is like, no, you're refusing to look at the situation, which is you chose this for you. You probably don't only love your partner as much as that you probably give everything to your coworkers too, and your boss to your detriment. But this is all just the process that we are all going through, and we're on different sides of this. And then it's just a constant cycle. We're constantly cycling through this. And then as a species as well, like the United States is currently in the loving itself mode and going through that progression.
Yeah. Cynthia, I think it was.
Hi, Cynthia.
Hi, sweetie. Love you.
Made your debut. Hello.
Yeah, it's actually I think I might have to go.
Beautiful out here.
Yeah,
But it's starting to
just starting to
rain.
and can you see it?
It's the air. Yeah, the moisture in the air.
We just got just like so to put it in perspective for Americans, I think it's about 20 degrees out here, maybe. Something
20
like that. Yeah.
Fahrenheit. So below freezing. Or you're 20 degrees Celsius.
Sorry. No. Sorry. Not 20. I mean, it's about 38. Sorry.
Okay.
38. Yeah.
Which is cold.
Yeah.
It's cold on
Yeah,
the
and I'm having a good time out here, but all of a sudden I'm talking to you and I'm starting to see my breath come up, which wasn't happening before. We live on the mountain, and
Mhm.
so it's like so something just came in here. Somebody said, "Hello, beautiful Cynthia."
Oh.
So this is a really good point about the whole narcissistic. She's in her 90s. This is the whole thing about narcissistic. The idea, like who was I talking to the other day that said this? It says that narcissism typically was saved for people like Hitler,
Oh, it was
or
Jason.
Stalin.
Jason.
So you have Hitler, you have Stalin, you have people like that, and we had a term to say narcissist was this type of person right now.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, now everybody is a narcissist. You're a narcissist. You're a narcissist. You're a
It was
narcissist.
actually Christopher Witecki that said it. They were
Yeah.
having a conversation about it, a deep conversation.
Yeah, that's actually what it was. It was an Astro Monday yesterday. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I think it was last week. We were talking about it, and then all of a sudden it's the trendy thing to call everybody. It's a narcissist. And you said it's funny. It's in the Me Too world. Then we just got out of that. The Me Too, with the Me Too movement was. I mean, it's been going on for a long time, but it articulated. We had one of the Me Tooers, Kelly Tennant, which she wonderful girl. She is she was a sportscaster for the Dodgers and stuff like that. She was like news. And she got caught up in that with Walton, the coach of the Lakers. She was one of our influencers. Was going through that moment, coming out time, and just everything around her got caught up in that, including us. She came after us. She came after everybody at the same time because they're getting all those emotions out. And I see this happening all the time to people.
I mean, and that's on us too, right? It's to give them the space to do that, to expel everything out of them, and then also not let that impact our own view and perspective and mission of ourselves.
Yeah, that was a tough one because what happened at the time was a bunch of the Me Too podcasters. At that time they pulled our podcast that we had done with them, and it was just like this little infighting of young Me Too podcasters at the same time, and it was such a bizarre time. But that was also when, at the same time that the FDA was coming in, the banks are starting to shut us down in the United States, and it all happened at the same time. But those are that, and we say giving people the space. That's what we did. But it was a perfect precondition because if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't have come here, and if I wouldn't have come here, the fascial maneuvers wouldn't exist.
Yeah, I did a yoga class yesterday, and I was in the shower. It was hot yoga, and I was in the shower after, and there was a little sign. There was a little sign right in front of me that says, like, trust that the universe, everything that's happening in the universe is for you, right? And it's really easy for us to think that when it's positive, but are we able to think that when we're going through all of this stuff, or maybe like falling ill, or however you want to explain being sick, like getting reset? How can we change our story about the situation? And then it gets even more dynamic when other people are involved.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our, like if you look, wow, all of a sudden it's bright. It started raining. I was okay with the cold, but the rain gives us a couple extra special challenges that I wasn't ready for.
The the cold is so good for us. I mean, we're made to deal with the cold.
Oh, I know. That goes on that actually. Yeah, because actually, cold is no problem. Cold is no problem at all. As a matter of fact, that's one thing that I'll tell you the first thing that happened, like when we were on the wow.
Like, can you?
I don't know what happened
Is
here.
there a way you can focus on yourself? I don't know if we can focus on here.
Oh,
Oh, that did something.
wow. Okay, I did. I touched it. Yeah. So what happened for us when we were on the 44-day fast? Um, so I noticed some behavior in my body that I wasn't aware of and before, like it. And this talking about, like staying, like having that belief that everything's for your good. So one of the things that I noticed that happened for me, we went down and and it was May, we started the fast. So the ocean's still pretty cold here in May. And we weren't really into the cold water, in the ocean. We were like winter's house, summer's ocean, right? And so we were in the ocean, and I walked in and I started shaking a little bit, and then I realized that my legs, as I was walking in, were warm. And I looked at Jay and I said, "That's weird. I'm shaking, but it's warm." And he goes, "Yeah, I think it's just fear releasing, like a fear that is cold." So then we started to realize that at that point that something had changed in our body and our fascia. And the next thing you know, we started going in lakes and all that around that time. So it's pretty cold in the lakes around here around that time. We were in this lake in Whistler, and we were been swimming around for about half an hour, and then a whole bunch of people came in after a Wim Hof thing, and they jump in the lake, get out, and we're like, "What are these guys doing?" They're just jumping in and getting out, and we talked to them afterwards, and when we talked to them afterwards, they're like, "Oh, we're doing Wim Hof," and we've been swimming in this thing for about 25, 30 minutes in this lake without even thinking about it because we weren't. There's only three of us, so we weren't aware it was cold because no one else was in the lake swimming. That's probably why no one else is in the lake swimming. And so as we started opening up our fascia, we started seeing that the fascia had layers, and those layers would be the way I would explain it is each layer has a little bit of fluid that would warm itself.
Like a
So we feel
wetsuit.
a cold coming in, and then our body at the core would send a heat wave this way, and you could feel it come and then reverse and then come back. And that's what happens in my body today. Like I don't actually get cold when I'm outside. So I'll post it before I go. We were shoveling the snow out here, and my shoes, I had these barefoot shoes, have zero grip. Like it's dangerous
Yeah.
with the shoes, right? Not meant for it. So I just take off my shoes and I'm actually shoveling the snow with my bare feet. And that's actually better. It's more grip. And I know you're into this because when we got done with the hike at Shannon Falls when you're up here, you were like, I didn't get to see it. I was waiting for Lisa and them to come down the hill. But you're down at the bottom. You're down. I just saw you strip down your underwear. You're you're in that mountain stream there.
Yeah, my plan was to do it at the top, but I slipped a few times on the way up, and I was like, I don't want to come down shivering and sometimes I didn't know how cold it was gonna be. I didn't know how it was gonna be, so I waited till I got to the bottom. The crazy thing is that I get that as well. You go in and you're cold while you're in, and you step out and you're warm. And the thing is that we are the source of heat, right? Like if you touch our skin, like we're the source of heat. We're also stored sunlight, we're stored potential energy, and so all of the heat that we need is already within us. If we go outside and we're not conditioned, then yes, we will feel cold, but our body is made to be at the temperature that it stabilizes at. It's made to be there, and so we can hold ourselves at our temperate stability no matter what our temperature no matter what the environment is, if we're practiced. And if we've got fascial.
So somebody said something here. When you get frostbite, if you go barefoot in the snow. And
well, that, I mean, the video.
Yeah, I wish I could right now. It doesn't allow me to, but I'll put it up on the story. But here's the thing is that, like Wim Hof, great guy for bringing this up. But I mean, he, climbing the mountains, climbing mountains in just shorts with no shoes and no gathering. So the question is, why do certain people get frostbite? And then here's another one.
And die. Some people die doing what he does.
And then why do certain people starve? Because I went 6 weeks without food, 2 weeks without water. So there's a doctor. He wrote a book, and it was based on a theory that if you chew every bite of food 100 times, he lived Auschwitz. They were trying to kill him they were testing him, like trying to starve him out, and they give him like a morsel of food, and he kept surviving, and they couldn't kill him. Well, anyways, he ended up living through Auschwitz. He got out. He was a medical doctor. He published books about it and stuff like this. And I'm like, there's not enough nutrients in that food. Doesn't matter how many times you chew it.
Is that the same guy that wrote the book, The Man's Search for Meaning? Anyways,
it might be, but the thing is that like it can't be the nutrients in the food. You don't get any more nutrients if you eat it more. But one thing he did do was he reinforced physically a belief system that he had. And when I was fasting for 6 weeks, when it was 2 weeks, I'll tell you something that was really funny. I have a bunch of doctors that we work with up here, and when we were like about a week into the dry fast, they came up here and they were like, "You got to be careful. We've had people die from this. We had, and literally, even though I believed, their fear and their conversation came on me, and I'm like, I'm asking my body, I'm asking Jason, I'm testing Jason's energy, because all of a sudden I had this moment of doubt.
Yeah, Viktor Frankl is who I was talking about. He ended up being a psychiatrist, or he was a psychiatrist. So it may or may not be the same person, because it's about like the spiritual survival of how he got through that. But just like you were talking about all of the viruses, the codes for the viruses being in our DNA, it's the same thing with like all of our superpowers. The power even to be wealthy or to be poor, or to be able to be an athlete, or to be able to thrive without food or water. There's people doing it for 15, 21 days without food or water. It's a struggle, and they document it, but this is happening. And this story of you're going to get frostbite if you go outside and it's cold out, that you're going to get sick if you don't have a jacket, or you're going to die if you don't have water for 3 days. These are just stories that we can take into our being, and they can manifest in our life if we let it. I've got 2 more things to say. That's why it's so important to not tell your friends and family, oh, this is going to be really hard. This is going to be tough, right? Because we think that we're consoling them. We think that we're helping them out by warning them or preparing them. But the moment you do that, it just destroys their confidence that they had in themselves. So whether it's an athlete, before the championship game, maybe it's your son, and they've worked all season or all life to this moment, and it's the most important game, and you go in there and you start talking about like how difficult it's going to be, and they have to overcome, like that can have some negative effects on the person that you do that. But there's another story, I forget, I could probably look it up, of a soldier in one of the world wars, I believe, who trapped himself inside of a refrigerator car, railroad car, and it was a refrigerated car, and they ended up finding him dead, and he wrote on the walls, like, I've tried helping, or I've tried screaming for help, nobody will come, I'm getting colder, I'm getting weaker, and then eventually he died. And when they found him, he was dead. But the confusing part about this is that the refrigerator car wasn't turned on. So it was just 68 degrees. but he, in his fear, convinced himself that he was going to freeze to death inside this railroad car, and then he actually was able to take himself to the point of death with his own mind.
Yes. You know, this is the bigger point, right? It's that it was this is part of our journey of learning, because when we did that fast, you know, people would come and and you know, family members, friends, and they would have great levels of concern. Now, for me, at the end of the fast, at 44 days, I was fat. I which baffled me. Now, Jason looked really thin, and so he was getting a lot of the pressure from family, like this isn't safe, you're gonna die, and all this, and so we actually just stopped seeing people and talking to people, because we didn't want to have the conversation. And and we got up every day and we talked to each other, and there's a few people that are around us that you know, very few that would actually support it, but by far the majority of people would not support us fasting for 44 days. Like about a month into the fast, people were like questioning us, and at that time, we had brain mechanics from Calgary bring in a bunch of scientific equipment, literally turned a whole basement into a lab. Brain scans, body scans, sleep scans, pressure, all this. And we were testing all of our bodies, because we're like, something's up. Like, one of the things that I found is, since my fast, and I don't know if this happened before or after, but my brain is 100% gamma. I don't have, like, when we did EEGs in my brain, 100% gamma. And it's been that way since. And I can't explain it. I mean, it's like my brain's on mushrooms all the time.
Yeah, it's like an enlightened state, basically.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
That is.
But
you know, and I don't have a tailbone.
Did that happen before or after that?
That happened. The tailbone issue was,
A long
it
time
was
ago?
2019 at the Conscious Clubhouse, because every day I'd come out and take my activator, chiropractic, click, 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 and I'd hit my xiphoid, and I'd hit my tailbone every morning. And one day I get up and I go click, click, and there's nothing there. So the first thing I do is run to the bathroom. And I'm like, what's going on? I took a rubber glove, put it up my butt, trying to find my coccyx, you know, trying to move around, and it wasn't there. And then I'm like, wow, I feel this itchiness, this itchiness right in the crack, and I can't figure that out. So I go right into the clinic, and I get my chiropractor, hey, who adjusts me every day for years, and I said, can you check? Something's up. And he checks. There's no tailbone. He does a rectal anal exam to see no tailbone. So I went and got imagery. No tailbone. I know the day it happened. I mean, it's a story that I'll tell, but not here. It needs a little bit of a pretext or a conversation. But it was after a realization. It was when the very first maneuver was anti-gravity. So I was in the shower, and I was down in the shower, and I was doing anti-gravity in the squat, and I had this visceral memory. It was like just like yesterday, and I can't explain it. It was a memory of being a monkey. That's all I can say. And it was as real as remembering that what I ate before I went in the shower. And I can't explain it. I have no way. I wasn't on drugs or anything. It was right after work, and I was in the shower, I was holding down, and then it was the next day that I didn't have one. That's the short story.
It's funny when you said, that's all I can say. I actually saw you as a monkey. I mean, those memories are in us, right? I mean, that's happening now. If you were a monkey, it's happening now, because time doesn't really exist linearly the way that we perceive it. So we should have an ability to connect. But back to your gamma wave, that's like ultimate brainwave. That's like you're supercharged. Your brain is basically operating at full capacity. It's like Powder, that movie Powder, back in the, I don't know, the 90s.
Yeah,
you had
I remember
100%
Powder.
control of your brain. That's, I mean, a lot of the magic is behind the walls that are put into society so that we don't go beyond them. Fasting fasting is taught to us to be very, very dangerous. I mean, we're supposed to eat every 3 hours is the current kind of program.
I'm
And
pulling
so
up.
you don't eat for a day, you're crazy. You convince yourself you're starving. We can see that.
I'm pulling up something. Oh, here it is. This was a control, and that was my brain on an EEG, and we were using we had this second here. So we're not exactly organized, and we're using this brain scan EEG. It's the same EEGs that they use for like race car drivers. Right here. That was the control headsets that we were using to test us at the time. So we turned that whole downstairs room into a lab, and we were looking to understand why we were different. There was something different about us, but we had no way to quantify it. So we took this brain scientist called Brain Mechanics, and they were partners with Microsoft and Google and all that. They lived with us. They came in and lived with us for 6 weeks, because you can't go into a studio or a scientific lab and then get tested, because you don't see it, and you can't see it every single day over time. You can have anomalies. So we went and we tested our bodies, and we found that our brains, like Jason and Cynthia, he said they're like Tibetan monks, very balanced in their brainwaves. And then he looked at mine. He goes, "I've never seen this before. You're just like, you're all gamma. There's nothing else there."
That's your identity too. So if there was a fork to go one way or another, that would be where you would go to. Interesting. I mean, fasting, so much of our energy is used to process food, right? I mean,
80%.
you're taking a banana and you're turning it into a skin cell. Like that's a huge feat for the body. 80% goes into that. I mean, and so 80% not going into that anymore, and then your body also being okay with that. It's stabilized, and then it starts to use your organs in other ways, which is what you get when you start looking to the east of like what all the organs are for. They're not just for processing food like we think about them in the West.
I'll show you something. So so we have a greater momentum right here, and can you see that? Yeah, you can. Okay, so this looks like this well-formed organ, right? It looks like an organ. It looks like something that should be there, but and what that does is it goes over top of this. So what happens is all the nutrients go into the small intestine, and then the blood cells in the greater omentum. Basically, it's a bunch of tissue with, like, it looks like a river going into an ocean with a bunch of forks, or like a branch of a tree, like a leaf going in, and very much like a leaf. I guess it would look like a leaf coming back to the trunk. But when you look on an autopsy or you do a cadaver, it doesn't look like that. Yeah, it looks kind of looks like this. Or actually, I'll draw it like this. And this is what got me. It looks more like it goes like this, and it goes like this, and it has this shape, and it goes around like this, and it looks like a scab. It doesn't look like an organ. And this is where I started saying, when things look differently than we say that they do, especially in the human body, like you have two adrenal glands. One of them is phallic shaped and one of them is moon shaped. So what if they did something different?
Right.
I mean, we're not taught that. I mean, science doesn't even begin to. They show them in anatomy books being the same, but actually, if you go down and you look in the actual shape of them from a cadaver, one is pointed and one is round. Now they're starting to show like that. So that means if something looks different, it probably has a slightly different function. That's a fair statement. Also, like here's one. Things that look alike tend to do alike. Like, look at this guy right here. That's your brain. What does that look like? Looks like your brain.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, when the fetus is developing, those two things, these two things right here, are in the development of a fetus. This, whoops, in the development of a fetus here, this here, and this here. If you look at it, this is what it looks like when a fetus is up to about 7 weeks. You would see a bunch of plasma around like this, and you see these two nerve clusters, and they're connected. One of them becomes the brain, and one of them becomes the intestines.
Yeah. There is a brain in the intestines.
It is our brain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
it's
in
not
between is the
separate
heart.
from it. That's why, since we don't have pain here, no pain here, there's no pain receptors in the brain. We can't have a headache or a brain ache. So it's not the brain that has the pain. That's like these chronic headaches. It's something around it. It's the matter around the brain. It's the fascial coating. It's the dura mater and the fascia that has the pain. And this is, and the brain just tells us that there's something going on down here. So this is the notification, but the problem is in here, and this is the notification. In depression, when you have pressure here constantly, you perceive depression.
Yeah. There's pressure going in to press in.
Yeah,
Depression.
yeah. So everybody who has depression that I've observed in my career of tens of thousands of people touching them, every single person that has depression has a lot of pressure on the small intestine. And when we move the visceral fascial pressure, that's why the lower reset works so well on depression.
Which then allows for expansion, which
Yeah,
is the opposite of depression.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's what this whole like the when you're breathing in a pressurized, the maneuvers put you into kind of like a tight situation, and then you're expanding within that, which then when you come back to homeostasis or just standing regular position, you have more space within your
Yeah,
body.
like we breathe like we breathe like here, and our body's used to it. But if I go like this and wrap myself, now turn, now the body's trying to breathe, but it's used to this pattern. But when I wrap and breathe, it has to use new tissue to breathe. So it has to expand in an area that's not normal. That expansion in the wrapping causes, instead of just expanding like this, it causes this expansion. So it goes out and like this. And then that breaks up all those layers, visceral layers of fascia. And that's what the fascial release is. It's really the breath. That's why breath is our therapist.
I noticed that a lot, like after 6 months. After 6 months of doing it, I started feeling like layers, it felt like layers opening up, like throughout my organs in the backside of my body, like my kidneys.
So why do you think it took? Because this is a good thing. Because I remember you just did it under. I feel better, and I think I'm going to continue. It's because you like to do that. I mean, like growing your hair. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go all the way. So why do you think it took you 6 months to really feel that feeling? Some people feel it right away, but some people it takes a while.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel that I felt something right away, right? Like on day one, I felt something. But 6 months in, I also had a story because I heard Jason say that things started changing. So I probably created that story in my head that something's going to start happening 6 to 8 months of doing this consistently. But I also spent my entire life guarding this area of my body, playing full contact sports. So I built a tight cage around myself, and it wasn't releasing. Or I think I didn't even know how to move for me, it feels like I'm getting access to areas of movement in my body that I've never moved before. And now I'm able to like consciously, like, it's like, wow, I'm moving. I can feel space in this area, like deep in my core and my torso that I've never felt move before. And now I'm like able to like consciously feel it and move it.
Yeah, it is. It's super, super cool. You know, we could go on forever, as always.
Right.
I mean, literally, that's what no, my favorite thing is. My favorite part of my week is actually talking to you because it just keeps
That's
going. I mean,
crazy, Gary.
yeah, and I like it so much. And for all of you guys who are tuning in right now, we're traveling tomorrow back to Cancun. So Ra is your host, and it's going to be interesting because we got Claire Crawley coming up. She's the bachelorette number 16, and you get to ask your own questions. You met her in Joshua Tree.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Lisa reached out to me and said Claire wasn't going to make it, but I'll
Oh,
be
okay,
here.
okay,
I'm
okay.
not sure.
Oh,
I'm not
she
sure.
has. Oh, I know. She's got a baby coming up. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyways, Roth, thank you so much for hosting tomorrow in advance.
Mhm.
Everybody coming on, this is your chance to get down and ask Ross some deep questions.
Yeah, I love the questions. So it's just going to be rattling out conversation based on the questions, and we just make a symphony of conversation. So I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Gary, take care.
I'll see you. I'll see you. Well, I'll see you online soon. And again, think about it, Mexico, right?
Yep. Peace out.
Okay, peace out. Take care.